Deep breaths. Deep breaths, everyone. What's going on? You might notice the increased quality of my camera and the fact that I'm not in my apartment in New York City. I did not bring any of my cords home, so I had to fire this up. I found the cord that goes with my mic in my basement, but we're here and we're live, so that's all that matters. I honestly might be doing it in this computer. Look at this quality. This is amazing. It's terrific. But you don't want to hear me talking about my camera quality or why I'm streaming in my mom's house instead of in the city, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Tonight is a massive night. Tonight is, we keep saying it over and over again, whether it be, Knicks Celtics game 6 or Pistons Knicks game 6. Like, there have been so many times, game 3 in the series, like every game now feels like the biggest game of our lifetime because we haven't been in this position before. And these playoffs are just brought about so many different games that matter so much. And this one, it probably takes the cake. I mean, obviously, if the Knicks win this one and they force a game 7, then it'll be that one. But you catch my drift. It's very important. And, listen, it's very stressful. And the anxiety is already starting to pick up, as I'm sure it is in all of you guys as well. But if you missed it, I'm Bryce Gelman here talking about Knicks-Pacers game 6, a game in which I don't think many people thought we'd get to with the stakes and, with the series being the way that it is right now. I don't think anyone expected these past 5 games to go like they did, especially obviously game 1 and then game 3, the 2 major comebacks, the 2, deviances within the series, which other than those 2 games have been pretty close. And obviously in game 5, the Knicks destroyed the Pacers. In game 4, the Pacers won convincingly. Those are the 2 games and everything else has been close. But here we are. Game 6, Knicks-Pacers in Indiana. A lot to talk about, a lot to get to. I'm going to get to all of it. I'm going to get to my keys to the game. But first, allow me to apologize for my incessant tweeting throughout the course of last game in game 5. I'm like, at this point, like, you could consider me the Frank the Tank of the Knicks. Like, I'm not 700 pounds and I don't have, listen, I love Frank the Tank. Like, no disrespect there. I also don't have issues. I mean, I have my own issues, but nothing like that. But no, the Knicks were up 15, 20 points, and I was losing my mind still about Tom Thibodeau playing Josh Hart as much as he's played him. And that is going to be an ongoing trend for however long the Knicks keep this series going or keep their playoff run going. I have a major gripe with Tom Thibodeau over how much he's played Josh Hart throughout the course of the series. I think it's unacceptable. I personally think that Josh Hart has been the worst Knick throughout this series. Look at anyone else on both ends of the court. Terrible, awful. But I'm gonna get to that because I need to talk about it. I need to vent my frustrations about Josh Hart throughout the course of this live stream. But I think I wanted to start here, and that's the defensive strategy going through this game, because what we saw in game 5, which was different than whatever we've seen, not just in the series, but throughout these playoffs as well, was that the Knicks were blitzing the point guard, whoever, the biggest playmaker on the team. Obviously, in this case, it's Tyrese Halliburton, where you saw Mikal Bridges picking up 94 feet away from the basket. And you saw what happened in this last game, in game 5. The most important thing the Knicks can do is to make Tyrese Halliburton uncomfortable. He's obviously the playmaker on that offense. He is the straw that stirs the drink. And if you're able to shut him down, if you're able to slow Tyrese Halliburton down, it increases your chances to win any game. And you see a game like that. Everyone wants to call Tyrese Halliburton a superstar. Superstars don't disappear in games like that. And this is an ongoing trend throughout his career. It's like you see him play. In game 4 was one of the best, I think one of the best performances in playoff history. Not just this year, not just the last 5 years, 10 years. It might be a top 20, top 30 most impressive playoff performance ever, especially if the Pacers win this series. But then to come out in game 5 and play as poorly as he did, obviously, he didn't play a lot down the stretch. The Pacers kind of, they threw the towel much earlier than I think anyone expected. I think they understood that game was not going to be won. But, Tyrese Halliburton, again, a terrible game in game 5. I think he's going to turn it around. I think you can't let him get to the point where he was as comfortable as he was in game 4. It felt like every possession down the court, he was trotting right into the paint, finding an open man, getting his floater, or, the fact that was occurring every single time down the court, it allowed the defense, to take a step back, and then he'd take a step back 3. Everything was going for him. hence why he had one of the best playoff performances ever. And then Tom Thibodeau comes out in game 5 with a completely different look, and Mikal Bridges is face guarding him the entire length of the court. I think the reason why the Knicks refrained from doing that earlier on in the series was because they thought that that would increase the pace of the game, and that goes directly against what the Knicks want to do in this series, which is obviously slow the pace down, play the, operate in the half court instead of, allowing the Pacers to, pick up the pace and get whatever they want, because that's where they thrive the most. And you look at a guy like John, I told myself I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to get into it, but like it's at the forefront of every one of my thoughts about this series, how much Josh Hart has been entrusted by Tom Thibodeau. But when you look at the one guy on the Knicks and one of the top guys in the league who's able to set the pace, who's able to score in transition, that's Josh Hart. I've said it, and I don't think it's hyperbole. Josh Hart is the top 3 transition player in the NBA. I think LeBron is number 1. Past that, I mean, like Jalen Williams is another one there, but like Josh Hart, the control that he possesses coming down the court full speed, he's able to find the open man. He's able to take it into the teeth of the defense and score through contact. What have we not seen throughout the course of this series? Very rarely. It's happened once or twice. Josh Hart being aggressive, driving to the basket, drawing a foul, or whatever. It is so unbelievably frustrating to watch Josh Hart play meaningless minute after meaningless minute, and still Tom Thibodeau insists on playing him as much as humanly possible. He plays 34 minutes. It felt like 500 minutes in the last game. He plays 34 minutes. I believe he played the last 18 minutes of the game. Tom Thibodeau inserts him with 6 or 7 minutes left in the third quarter, and then he plays the entirety of the game, even though he brought you nothing. And he's still getting beat on backdoor cuts. He's still getting beat, with I think he was matched up with Siakam at one point. And I remember, he just completely gave up on the spin, and Siakam was easily able to get to the basket. But like we've seen it time and time again. And like I understand the idea of like riding your guys, and if they lose the game for you, if they lose the series for you, then so be it. You got to trust the guys who got you there. And yeah, that's true. In this case, Josh Hart, one of the most valuable guys on this Knicks team. But that's when he's playing his game. That's when he's pushing the pace. That's when he's being aggressive. Not when he's turning the ball over left and right. Not when he's getting beat on defense constantly. I feel like every time down the floor, he's inept defensively. Very frustrating. He's still averaging 35 minutes per game this series, even after the starting lineup change. Like you knew that Mitchell Robinson being inserted into the starting, Mitchell Robinson being inserted into the starting lineup was going to do little to affect the minutes of Josh Hart. I don't think anyone expected that. But like, you start those guys, you got to play that lineup just a little bit more. I'd like to see the double big lineup that much more. And I think it's interesting to look for Tony Bradley's status, because that will obviously impact whether or not Mitchell Robinson plays more. He got hurt last night or the other night. Yeah, Tony Bradley is a game time decision. Aaron Neesmith is playing. No surprise there. But if Tony Bradley doesn't come out and he doesn't, if he doesn't play in this game, he doesn't look healthy, Mitchell Robinson's got to play more than Josh Hart. And you look at a guy like Landry Shamet, who's finally been entrusted by Tom Thibodeau. Finally. DeLon Wright as well. When you look at those guys, they deserve more minutes. And it should be at the direct expense of Josh Hart's minutes. Directly. Landry Shamet gave you so much more energy. That's usually Josh Hart's prerogative. That's what he does. He comes into the game, he gives you that energy, he's pushing the pace. No, he wasn't. He was turning the ball over. He wasn't being aggressive. He was passing out of easy looks at the basket. That cannot happen. He will be played 30, 35 minutes. He needs to have a good game. He's the most important factor in this game. He is. Because he's forced down our throats as much as he is. If Tom Thibodeau was willing to take him out when he wasn't playing well, he would absolutely not be the most important guy in this game. And in this series, honestly, at this point. Like you have a given. You have a lot of guarantees with this Knicks team. Whether it be the fact that they're going to let Jalen Brunson do whatever he wants offensively. They're going to allow him to draw the defense in, kick it out, or obviously get into the paint, or take the step back three, or whatever. They're going to allow him to have free reign on that offense. They're obviously going to look to get Karl-Anthony Towns involved. Hopefully, OG Anunoby could shoot better from three. He's shooting 29.4% from three. 29.4% OG Anunoby from three this series. He's due. Mikal Bridges is due. He sucked from three, shooting 57% from the line. All that being said, Josh Hart's the most important guy. He is. Because he hasn't brought you anything defensively. Like, what is the point in playing him? You get defensively what you need out of OG Anunoby on a night-by-night basis. Besides game one, at the end of that game, he makes one defensive play, the Knicks win the game. And there are a lot of fingers to point to blame after that game on loss. I think OG Anunoby was one of the most guilty parties. But still, he's provided you defense. He provides you occasionally with the shot creation and the ability to get to the basket. Josh Hart gives you none of that. He's not being aggressive. He's not taking the ball to the basket. They're not respecting him at the, right on the arc. Like they're obviously sagging off from 5-10 feet. That's another thing. There's another wrench in the Knicks' plans. You play him so much, you lose out on so much spacing for Jalen Brunson, for Karl-Anthony Towns. Like it for the life of me, I will not be able to understand it. I just don't think anyone's asked Tom Thibodeau after these games, why the hell are you playing Josh Hart so much? They've asked, I think Chris Persiani, who does a great job. If you don't follow him, definitely go out there. I'm sure most of you do. But I believe he asked a question about Josh Hart, what he needs to do mentally or physically to get back into the swing of things and not play so poorly. But kind of half-assed question. I love Chris, but I'd just be straight up there. Why is Josh Hart playing? What have you seen in Josh Hart to make him play 35 minutes a game? 34 minutes again, 34 minutes. And he sucked. He was terrible. But I don't want to be sitting here shitting all over Josh Hart, even though that, again, it's my biggest gripe. 100%. 100% my biggest gripe with this Knicks team. Yes, he's the most important player on the team. I think a close second is Mikal Bridges. What you saw defensively from him when he was tasked with matching up full court against Tyrese Halliburton was a much different defensive look. The intensity had switched. It obviously rubbed off on the rest of the team. And it was a major tone setter at the start of the game. The second they got Tyrese Halliburton out of whack, that changed everything. Once the Knicks came out, they saw that Halliburton wasn't his usual self. He wasn't as effective. It changed the course of the game, in my opinion. And that was all because of Mikal Bridges doing his job. He hasn't been physical defensively. He hasn't been driving the ball to the basket, drawing in. He hasn't done that all year. He hasn't done that his entire NBA career, much less these last few games. And he's been terrible on defense. And it was another point that I kept harping on alongside Josh Hart. Why the hell is Mikal Bridges playing? If he can't hit threes, he doesn't allow you to space the floor. He can't play. He can't get through a screen to save his life. And he proved us wrong. Listen, offensively, he's left a lot to be desired. He's been so bad. He's been when you traded 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges, you thought he'd be a threat from deep. He's not whatsoever. Almost to the point where the defense could sag off. He's not a threat. He's shooting 33% from three. It's simply not good enough for a guy of his caliber. A guy, obviously, the Knicks traded so much for. So, I think these guys are due. I think Bridges is due. I think OG is due. I think Josh Hart is also due. But I think we all know where the offensive production and where the result of this game falls upon. And that's obviously Karl-Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson. You want to talk about a chance? Do you want to talk about the Knicks potentially pulling off one of the greatest comebacks in recent sports memory? Your stars got to get you there. Your stars need to perform. Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns. Brunson's going to be there. Knock on wood, Brunson's been amazing in game 6s. I don't need to tell you the stats. Amazing. The Heat game 2 years ago comes to mind. He got them to the point where the Knicks had a chance, and no one else gave any sort of production in that game against the Heat, game 6. Brunson's going to provide. He's going to do what he does best. Raise his game at the biggest moments in each game. Will the other guys respond? Look at this. Hey, this is a pleasure. Cam is here. This is my guy right here. He's one of the hardest working people I've ever met. Check out his stuff. He's great. He covers the Green Bay Packers and all the whatever's going on in Green Bay. Thoughts on Halliburton wearing all black? listen, it's his prerogative. He wants to be the Reggie Miller in this series. He wants to be the villain. He wants to end the hopes and dreams of the Knicks fan. I don't know if I would go about it that way. Maybe I would wear black after the game. I think there's a lot working against him right now. He walked off the court after game 5 smiling. I don't think that you could be acting like this after that poor of a performance in game 5. Like, Shea could do it. I'm trying to think of other guys around the league who would stoop to his level. I'm like, Paul George would do something like that. Like, I'm just trying to think of guys who would not necessarily jinx himself, but obviously if the Pacers win the series, it looks good. But someone who would put that bad voodoo out into the world, into the universe. Again, I'm not saying that that's going to impact whatever the hell happens on the court, but I don't know if that's a good look. The choking signal that he did at the end of regulation in game 1 to tie the game, like that was it. That was an aura loss. If you've ever seen an aura loss in your life, this could be another one. So listen, I'm not reading too much into it. Again, he could do whatever the hell he wants. He's a grown man. What are you doing, bro? Like, who are you trying to be here? Who are you, like, what, where is it? Like, listen, I think they're going to win the series, the Pacers. So again, he can do whatever the hell he wants, but I don't know, man. This could all come back to bite you in the ass. This is just bad vibes. I'm not getting good vibes from that. Again, I don't think it's going to impact the result of the series much, but relax, dude. You get past the Knicks, you're getting swept by OKC. So simmer down. But back to what I was discussing when it comes to the Knicks wings, Hart, Anunoby, and Bridges. I really believe they're due. Josh Hart's another story. I really don't know with him. Like again, I'm not doing this. I can't do it. I just did like 5-10 minutes on Josh Hart. Every person that I've seen who wants to talk Knicks, like that's all I want to talk about. There's nothing else that matters to me besides Josh Hart playing good minutes and Top Thibodeau not playing him as much. Dylan Constantly, what's up, man? Dad's girlfriend's son. What's up, Dylan? I don't know who's more nervous, you or your dad. This is what I do, though. This is like my whole shtick, not just in basketball, my sports fandom, but in life. When shit's hitting the fan, I like to talk. I like to get out my emotions. I like to get out my anxiety. Those people who know me closely, obviously, I'm an open book. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and when I'm pissed, I'm pissed. When I'm calm, I'm calm. You could tell. But something I like to do is get my emotions out, get my anxiety out by talking. And this is obviously a great medium to accomplish that. And also, to preview the game and get into all the things I think are important in this game. But Jalen Brunson, Karl-Anthony Towns, they need to provide offensively tonight. Like, you can't really expect a lot from them defensively. I think Karl-Anthony Towns did a good job matched up against Pascal Siakam with the switch, with OG guarding Nembhard and you could take OG off Siakam when Karl-Anthony Towns is playing good one-on-one defense like he was. It makes obviously everything a lot easier. I think a lot of people out there were trying to make the point that you could put Mitchell Robinson on Pascal Siakam. I don't know how smart of a plan that is. Like, I think Karl-Anthony Towns has done an amazing job, but Cat picks up a couple fouls, like he's going to be pulled off. It's that simple. Like, you got to ride what's working, and that's something that's worked. And it has allowed OG to switch over to Nembhard, who has been a non-factor. He's been terrible this series. He was one of the biggest factors to get the Pacers to this point. He's been terrible. He's been atrocious. I know, like, a lot of focus being put on what the Knicks players are doing. Nembhard has not been good. He's not been. He's shooting 38% from the floor. He's shooting, all right, he's pretty good from deep, but like 39%. He only has 45 points. That's terrible. He's averaging 9 points per game. It's simply not good enough. That's 7th on the team. Not good whatsoever. Yeah, thanks, Jeff. What's up, Jeff? Knicks are sticking with it. Yeah, and there's no doubt about that in my mind. I would have been pretty pissed if they put Josh Hart back in the starting lineup, as you know. Yeah, Purdy and Bagley. Thanks, Ian. Thanks, Jeff. But I mean, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the keys to this game. And I kind of just outlined a lot of it. With strategy wise, with the Bridges on Halliburton, 94 feet. That's essential. It worked in the last game. They have to continue with whatever works, and that's something that's worked. Obviously, Mikal Bridges showing up offensively. That's important. The Knicks are almost unbeatable when Mikal Bridges plays well offensively, because obviously that translates to the defensive end as well, like it does with most players. And I always use the example. The one guy who comes to mind with recent Knicks memory is RJ Barrett. When he was hitting the three, he was playing some amazing defense. When his shot wasn't falling, he was inept defensively. And it's true for a lot of guys around the NBA. Mikal Bridges, another one of those guys. So you hope that those fadeaways are falling. You know he's going to take them. They're high percentage looks, no matter what you want to say. You look at what he did to start the fourth quarter in game 2 against Boston. That was a money shot. He was hitting all the, like, I get it. Take it if you think you can make it, but you got to be more aggressive. Mikal Bridges has been a bitch. I'll put it bluntly. He's been a bitch. Like, you need to seek out contact. I think he's a little afraid. There's a reason why he's played so many games in a row since high school. He hasn't sought out contact. He hasn't. And it's so frustrating to watch because when those fadeaways aren't falling, like, you got to look elsewhere. You got to try to score in different ways. You can't just be looking for that fadeaway. I can't see that. I really cannot see that in this game. Another one of the keys to this game is Tom Thibodeau playing Landry Shamet. Like what we saw in game 5. And you could tell from how loud the Garden was when it came to the Landry Shamet chants. When those guys coming off the bench, and DeLon Wright had some stupid boneheaded plays, but defensively, the deflections and everything he brings you also could put him on Halliburton. Like there are a bunch of different ways you can go about that. You could put Shamet on Halliburton as well. Tom Thibodeau needs to play the bench a little bit more. I will, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, and I'll continue to beat the dead horse when it comes to this topic, but Shamet should get some of Hart's minutes. There's no doubt. Like, you got to give him some of Hart's minutes. Please give him some of Hart's minutes. I think, and you've heard it time and time again with the starters talking about the bench and just any level of basketball. When bench guys come in, they've got energy. They lock up defensively. You know what the starters are doing on the bench? They're itching to get back in so they could provide as well defensively. They could bring that same energy. They're inspired. They're hyped up on the bench. They like that. They like to see that. When they're on the, you know what I mean? Like Jalen Brunson on the bench. He can't do, obviously can't do anything offensively on the bench. He cowers the offense when he's on the bench. He sees that. What do you think he's going to come out and do? He's going to bust his ass, especially on the defensive side. So again, I believe that that's a major key. You got to get those guys in the mix. You can't play. Like, listen, I'm accepting what I've gotten, and what we've gotten is obviously more than we've seen all playoffs. These two guys finally sneaking into the rotation. Tom Thibodeau, obviously the most rigid coach in the NBA. Chris Finch is a close second of guys that just barely play their bench. Like there was no soul searching whatsoever. There was, you know what? We're gonna play campaign. That's gonna be our 8th bench guy. That's gonna be our 8th guy in the lineup. 3rd bench guy. We're gonna play Deuce. We're gonna play Mitch as much as they play. They're both X factors. But you know what? Let's throw in campaign. Let's start him in the 4th quarter of a must-win game. Let's do that in game 2. And Tom Thibodeau learned his lesson. It's like bullying works. It was the most obvious move here is to go to the guys. Listen, Landry Shamet, he had suffered that shoulder injury earlier on in the year. He got sent back down to the G League. He busted his ass, got back up. The Knicks saved that roster spot. They drafted him in the G League draft 1st or 2nd overall, whatever the hell it was. And he brought himself back. He busted his ass to come back. And he's deserved these minutes. And he's played well in every single one of the minutes he's gotten. He's been unbelievable. And what a revelation. When you play guys on the bench that everyone knows could provide, they actually do. You got to ride the hot hand here. And the other thing the Knicks are lacking, and you discussed it with Mikal, I discussed it with Hart, I discussed it with OG. No one's hitting the threes. The Knicks don't have shooters. It's Cat, Brunson, and who else? Who else is going to step up? The one guy who has from 3 is Landry Shamet. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. He's shooting 50%. I know this isn't a lot of volume. He's 3 for 6. Either way, Deuce is not even hitting threes like that. He's 5 for 15. So I don't know. I think that, you've got so many guys in this rotation right now in the lineup. The only guy shooting 40% or above is Cat. I'm not counting Landry Shamet's 6 shots. He made 3 of them. Cat is shooting 42% from 3. Brunson 36%, and then the rest of the team, the rest of these guys who take threes, Hart 22%, OG 29%, as I mentioned before, Bridges 33%, McBride 33% as well. Like, this is not good enough. Simply not good enough. The Knicks are much better off. I mean, obviously, and any team is better offensively when the star player is able to kick out and guys hit their open shots. I think Jalen Brunson would be much more inclined to pass out to, let's say, an open Josh Hart, an open Mikal Bridges, when he actually trusted they'd make the shot. And what we've seen throughout the course of the series, These guys are not making their shots. They're not. So getting Shamet in the mix and getting a three-point shooter out on the court for more than 10 to 15 minutes could be a major factor for this team, especially when he's playing this hard on the defensive end. He deserves those minutes. And again, I understand Tom Thibodeau is one of the most rigid motherfuckers in the world. He is. Not just in basketball, in life. There are a few people I know that are rigid as hell. He takes the cake. And listen, and people are giving him credit, and he deserves some credit for this. Oh, he finally opened up the rotation. He finally is playing more than 7 guys. Damn right he is. It's the most obvious thing ever. It's the most obvious adjustment to make. Of course he's going to play more guys. 7 guys in a rotation when there's 9 possible guys who can give you good minutes. 10 now with Precious. That's another thing. I want to see Precious off the bench for more than 5 minutes. Because you know who's the second best defender against Pascal Siakam? He might even be number 1. Is Precious Achiuwa. You know, and there was obviously like the whole joke running around with Rick Carlisle trying to, psychologically convince Tom Thibodeau to play Precious Achiuwa more. He's like, well, Achiuwa's not in the mix yet. We haven't seen him yet. And guess what? The Knicks put him in for 5 minutes last game, and he locked up Siakam. That's another guy. Like, obviously, you're going to have OG on Nembhard. It allows for increased mobility for him on the defensive end. He could switch easier and whatnot. Without the threat of Nembhard. I mean, listen, Nembhard is due for a good game. This might be the Nembhard game. If he steps up well offensively, I think they have a good chance of winning the Pacers. But up until this point, he's been terrible. It's awful. Again, I just mentioned this, the 7th most points per game when he's starting guard. And up until this series, he'd been amazing. So that's another thing is like you got to get Precious in the mix there. If Cat picks up early foul trouble, you're gonna have to see Precious. And that might be a blessing in disguise. I mean, you don't want Cat to pick up early foul trouble, but sometimes foul trouble forces Tom Thibodeau's hand and things work out. Like, look what happened at the end of game 3. Brunson gets into foul trouble. They ride with that rotation of Shamet, Wright, Cat. That worked. I mean, obviously, Cat had a generational performance in that quarter, but Brunson not being on the court allowed them to be a much better defensive team. And you heard it in that postgame after game 3. Rick Carlisle was asked, what was so different about the Knicks defense down the stretch that made scoring so difficult for you guys? The Knicks played their better defenders. That's a direct shot at Jalen Brunson. The Knicks are a better team with Jalen Brunson off the floor defensively. That shouldn't be shocking to you. You don't understand this if you watch these Knicks games. So listen, I'd love to see Precious. They just need to ride their bench more. Especially, I'm going to keep doing it. This is never going to be able to escape my mind. And I apologize to Eddie, my sister, who's in this house right now, who's got to watch this game with me. When Josh Hart's not playing well, Mikal Bridges is not playing well, please, Lord, please, Tom Thibodeau, play these guys more off the bench. They provide the energy. They give you exactly what you need that the starters are not providing you. If Bridges is not giving you it, if Hart's not giving it to you, let's see if these guys can. They're not going to finish the game, but Josh Hart playing the last 18 minutes of this last game, inexcusable, terrible, awful on both sides of the ball, terrible. So that's another thing. I want to see the bench more. But this game is going to largely rest on the shoulders of Jalen Brunson. He got out to an amazing start in game 5, and the Knicks followed his lead. Offensively, they were hitting shots. Defensively, they provided the effort. It's Brunson. This is who it's all going to come down to. And I know you could point to game 6 against Miami, which I discussed a little bit earlier on, in watching Jalen Brunson put up a generational performance where I think she shot 60% in that game, and no one else did anything. Randall, Barrett, Grimes, all these guys just did not show up in the game, if you remember. It's my graduation weekend, the Saturday night dinner with my family, watching that game and watching that. The last time I felt pain. That was really bad. That was way worse than the Pacers series last year, because you knew that the Knicks were never beating Boston, but I don't know. That team was a little bit better, obviously more healthy. I digress. But Brunson, listen, he could always have a bad game, but he's shown time and time again he rises to the occasion when his best is needed. And tonight, I think out of any other night of his career, his best is definitely needed. Again, his game 6 stats are amazing. So Brunson, if he has a poor game, you could chalk this one up, and this is a game, set, match for the Pacers. But I want to talk my prediction. I might be called a pessimist for this, but I think the Pacers win the game. I genuinely do. There's a reason why you haven't seen a team come back from 3-1 since 2020, since the Nuggets did it twice. That was the bubble. Doesn't really count. There's a reason why 96, 90, whatever the stat is, 97, 96% of teams that are in a 3-1 deficit don't come back. Obviously, I'm not discrediting what this Knicks team has talent-wise. I'm not discrediting what they did in Game 5. I just don't trust Josh Hart and Mikal Bridges to be who they need to be in this game for the Knicks to win. I trust Jalen Brunson to show up. I trust Cat to have a good game as well. You got to get him involved offensively. I've been saying this all playoffs. The Knicks are a better team when he's active earlier on in the game. More engaged on defense as well. Again, like we discussed with Bridges and Barrett, all those people. Brunson's going to show up. You'd like to think the Cat's going to show up. Series is going to come down to the guy you gave 5 picks for, the guy I don't want to see the court more than 20 minutes a game, and the guy who the Knicks gave a massive contract to this last offseason, OG Anunoby. That's it. 2 head coaches. That's what he does. He's going to ride those guys until they die. You live by Josh Hart, you die by Josh Hart. He's just locked into that lineup. He's going to play no matter what. Like, he could be playing like me out there. He'll still play 30, 35 minutes. So it's going to come down to how well these guys play. Tom Thibodeau is going to force them down our throats. They need to play well. It's that simple. And that's what the series is going to come down to. Whether or not these guys perform. We saw it again against Boston. Mikal Bridges showed up when it mattered the most. He hasn't throughout the course of this series offensively. Defensively, he was a lot better in Game 5. I think, easier to get into a rhythm when he's guarding Halliburton, 94 feet. Let's see if that continues. Let's see if he's able to stifle Halliburton. Let's see if he's able to make Halliburton uncomfortable. And hopefully that gets Bridges going offensively. Because as I've said time and time again, this team is unstoppable when Bridges is good offensively. It completely opens up everything for the offense. Everything. Besides Josh Hart, who gives you no spacing in the game because he can't shoot 3 to save his life. Bum. Prove me wrong, Josh. Prove me wrong. That's what it's going to come down to. Bridges and Hart. And OG, you also like to see shoot a little better than 29% from 3. If he was actually able to hit a corner 3 every once in a while, that'd be nice. So, all right, that'll do it. I think that the Pacers win this game. They win the series, unfortunately. I don't want it to be like that, but I don't know, man. I don't know. It hasn't been done in a very long time. If it goes 7, I'd like to think the Knicks are going to win, but the Pacers understand the pressure here. They understand how important this game is to win, and I think that they're going to show that early. They're going to get that crowd going, and once the crowd gets going, once Halliburton gets going, he's able to dish and swish. It's going to be over. It is. But we'll see. Anything's possible. Anything is possible with Jalen Brunson at the helm of your franchise, of your organization. It's just, will anyone show up alongside of him? That's it. That's what this will come down to. And I'll be screaming my head off over a million Josh Hart minutes, but there's nothing we could do about that. So that'll do it. I'm going to try to cut down on the tweeting today, so you guys don't have to worry about that. But let's go Knicks. Hopefully this isn't the last live stream preview that I'm doing this year. It's been a fun ride. It's been amazing. And it's been great reps for me. And it's been amazing for me to interact with the majority of you. And let's hope that continues. So let's go Knicks.